Welcome, everybody, to the November Veterans Day meeting of the MWOTRC. If you're not actually talking, please mute. It's great to have you here. And do we have any visitors or newcomers to the meeting tonight? Because we've got a lot of people on the line. Oh, we've got Hank Ickes. Now there's a blast from the past. And we've got Michael Haid. Good Lord. We've got, these are the all-stars. So this is great stuff. And welcome to everybody who are tried and true and come all the time. I just also wanted to announce that the video of our Mank presentation in honor of Jack French is available at the club's on the club's homepage. So just go to MWOTRC.com, and that page, that goes scroll down a bit and you'll find a really beautiful job that Fred Burney did and that John did in recovering to get it put up. So moving right along, I think it's about that happy time where we turn the meeting over to John Abbott. Let me make you, John, a co-host. So if you want to show, if you want to share a video or something,
yes,
you can, you now have the keys to the kingdom to do so.
Wendy?
So Frank, did you want to talk now or before the presentation?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, go take it away. Please.
Thank you. Our first 15 presenter and main speaker tonight are one and the same person, John Abbott. We all know John is our webmaster and does a great job keeping it current. John takes the raw Zoom video of our meetings and processes it for posting on our YouTube channel. In his own words, John is living the life of a gainfully unemployed retiree. But before he retired, John worked in the operations department of a bank as a technical rep for a large computer company. He was also a self-described Beltway bandit, better known to us as a government contractor. We're all familiar with John's book on Johnny Dollar, but John has also published a book in which he wrote about sites that were photographed by O. Winston Link. Link's specialty was photographing Norfolk and Western steam trains at night. I have a copy of the book, and the photography and the writing is beautiful. John is an Air Force veteran, so thank you, John, for your service. And I will take the time now to say thank you to all of those members who have served. Lastly, John cleans up the video I use for First 15s, and tonight we'll get to hear John's technical expertise in his presentation of the double I, the main presentation. So John, thank you, and here we go.
Okay, this month's First 15 was originally scheduled for September, which was the birthday of a most talented voice actor. This actor ultimately gained fame both in radio and in the moving pictures. But can you guess who it is? Let's listen to several of his most popular voices. First of all, he had a very sophisticated voice.
The situation is extremely grave. In the last 12 hours, 2,000 more victims have been smitten with lurgy. You are the one man who can save Britain. I'll tell you a tale. At the moment, lurgy is confined to Oldham. Now, here's what you must tell the medical council. All the lurgy victims must be sent to Blackpool. My heavily oiled friend here and I are rather anxious to get to Pevensey Bay Station tonight. We know. Perhaps a lift on your snowplow? We have money. Yes. To prove we're not lying, here's a photograph of a shilling. Yes. And there are more photographs where that came from.
He also played a somewhat less sophisticated character.
Trod me cladder and hit me naughty splue. That sounds like in Charlie the First. Good evening. Any possibility of contacting the police from here? Thank heaven, safe at last. I'm lost, dear fellow, lost, completely lost. Me and the regiment were marching along, you know, and suddenly, quite by accident, me and the regimental funds took the wrong turning. Everywhere you'll see my notices, wanted Major Bloodknock.
And he also played a most definitely unsophisticated voice.
I heard you call me, my captain. I heard you call me. Enter Blue Bottle. Poses for audience applause, not a sausage. Better second house. I played a part of Blue Bottle. I've destroyed every mustard and crisp place in the world. Moves dramatically up to counter, strikes pose. Also strike cheese dish.
Think you know who it is? Well, let's listen to one more selection. In this particular piece that we're going to listen to, our birthday boy played all of the voice parts.
Balham, gateway to the south. We enter Balham through the verdant grasslands of Battersea Park, and at once we are aware that here is a land of happy, contented people who go about their daily tasks in truly democratic spirit. This is busy High Street, focal point of the town's activities. Note the quaint old stores whose frontage is covered with hand-painted inscriptions, every one a rare example of native Balham art. Let us read some of them as our camera travels past.
Cooking apples, choice eaters.
A song to remember at the Tantamount Cinema.
A suit to remember at Montague Moss.
Motions conducted with decorum and taste.
Fright tonight, bring your own paper. Rally Thursday, Berkeley Square. Viscountess Lewisham and Mrs. Gerald Legg. Up the ruling classes.
This shows the manifold activities of Balham's thriving community. But in quiet corners, we still find examples of the exquisite workmanship that Balham craftsmen have made world famous. Toothbrush holesmanship.
On my forge, I carved the little holes in the top of toothbrushes. It is exciting work, and my forefathers have been engaged upon it since 1957. The little holes in the top are put in manually, or in other words, once a year. I recently had the honor of demonstrating my craft before the owner of Ife. He stopped by one day for a couple of words. I did not understand either of them.
So much for Balham's industries. Now let us see a little more of the town. Here is the great park covering nearly half an acre. This is where the children traditionally meet by the limpid waters of the old drinking fountain. A drinking fountain that has for countless years across the vast aeons of time given untold pleasure to man, woman, and child. Beside this fountain, donated by able Councillor Quills as long ago as 1928, the little ones sit around a trim nursemaid and listen spellbound and enchanted as she reads them a story.
With one bound, he was by her side. Nora felt his hot breath on her cheek as he ripped the thin silk from...
We are now entering old Balham. Time has passed by this remote corner. So shall we. But Balham is not neglecting the cultural side. This is Eugene Quills, whose weekly recitals are attended by a vast concord of people. He has never had a lesson in his life. Such is the enthusiasm of Balham's music lovers that they are subscribing to a fund to send Eugene to Italy, or Vienna, or anywhere. Night falls on Balham. From Quill's Folly, Balham's famous beauty spot, which stands nearly 10 feet above sea level, the town is spread below us in a fairyland of glittering lights, changing all the time, green amber, red, red and amber, and back to green. The nightlife is awakening. The El Morocco Tea Room.
Hey, miss.
Yes, what you want?
Pilchards.
They're off, dear.
Oh, baked beans.
Off.
Oh, meatloaf salad.
That's off too.
A pot of tea?
No tea, dear.
Or just milk then?
Milk's off.
Roll and butter then?
No butter, dear.
Oh, just a roll.
Only bread, love.
I might have just as well have stayed at home.
Well, I don't know. It does you good to have a fling occasionally.
And so the long night draws on. The last stragglers make their way home, and the lights go out one by one as dawn approaches and the bell of St. Quill's Parish Church tolls 10 o'clock. Balham sleeps. And so we say farewell to this historic borough with many pleasant memories and the words of C. Quill Smith, Balham's own bard, burning in our ears.
Broad-bosomed, bold, becalmed, benign, lies Balham, foursquare on the northern line. Matched by no marvel save in eastern scene, a rose-red city, half as gold as green. By country churchyard, ferny fen and mere, what Quills mute, inglorious, lies buried here? Oh, stands the church clock at 10 to 3, and is there honey still for tea?
Honey's off, dear.
Okay, if you haven't figured it out by now, this next clip will remove all doubt.
I am Inspector Clouseau of the Sûreté. I am here on official business.
Yeah, if you haven't guessed it by now, the subject of September's program was Richard Henry Peter Sellers. He was born September the 8th, 1925, died in July of 1980, and last September the 8th would have been his 98th birthday. Peter was born to a family of performers and has reputedly made his stage debut at the age of 2 weeks, no doubt doing a soliloquy of Mother Goose. During his time in the RAF, he developed a talent for mimicry, which put him into a service program called the Gang Show, which allowed him to tour India and Southeast Asia. Reportedly, during this time, Peter wanted to get the weekend off, and his commanding officer wouldn't give him the time off. So he rang him up on the phone, impersonated the group commander, and convinced him to give Peter the time off. So, very good at mimicry. After the war, his talents as a voice artist earned him roles on various BBC radio shows, most notably during the 1950s, along with Spike Milligan, Harry Seacombe, and Michael Bentine. He was part of The Goon Show, which ended in 1960. And it was because of his versatility with voices that he was able to make The Goon Show as successful as it was. Aside from radio, Sellers became a film star and is reportedly one of the most famous people in the world at the time of, at the height of his fame. His movie credits, over 85 movies and television productions. I just wanted to list a few of them here. In 1955, he did The Lady Killers, in which he co-starred with Alec Guinness and Herbert Lom, who would pair with him during the Pink Panther series. Lom played the part of Superintendent Dreyfus. In 1959, he played 3 different roles in The Mouse That Roared. 1959, he also won a BAFTA Best Actor Award for the movie I'm All Right, Jack. And in 1964, he played 4 roles, actually 3, but there's a story behind that, in Dr. Strangelove. He played the role of the President of the United States, a British RAF officer, and the eponymous Dr. Strangelove. Now, he was originally cast to play the role of Major King Kong, the B-52 pilot, but he injured his ankle and could not get in and out of the aircraft set. So the directors and producers hired another actor to play the role, that actor being Slim Pickens, who I think personally was a much better fit for the role than Peter Sellers would have been. And obviously, 1963 through 68, he was Inspector Clouseau of the Pink Panther series. Off the screen and off the radio, his personal life was one filled with depression and insecurity, very erratic and compulsive behaviors in the mid-70s when he was under the influence of alcohol and drug problems. Sellers was married 4 times, had 3 children from his first 2 marriages, and died from a heart attack in 1954 and 1980. He was described by the Bolting brothers as the greatest comic genius this country, that being England, has produced since Charlie Chaplin. So that was our birthday guest for September. And with that, I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to turn the program momentarily back to Wendy.
Thank you very much, John. Of course, Peter Sellers was one of my great favorites. So you hit a sweet spot.
I did
Hank
that
Akers,
just for you.
Thank you. In the chat, Hank Akers nailed it almost immediately. So if you take a look at the chat, you'll see his thing. Now, Sally Stevens is our quiz mistress, and I will make Sally also a co-host so she can pull up the poll with the questions for tonight's quiz, which is entitled A Veterans Day Salute. And Frank has had this one in the hopper for several months, so it's kind of cool. He finally got to use it. So Sally, you now also have the keys to the kingdom.
Excellent. Love to have the power. All right. Well, we have quite a large class tonight. So, kids, it is time for our pop quiz. I hope you studied. You received the notice, so there's no excuse that you're not prepared for this quiz tonight. I'd like to see that everyone has their materials ready. John is always ready to go. Love that. Joni, ready. Wendy, excellent. Kelly, ready to go. Thank you. Dennis, Michael, very good. Thank you for finally coming back to class. If you're gonna cut class this long, we're gonna have to pull you into the principal's office. Thank you, Bert. I see your materials excellent. So glad to see everyone came prepared. Hopefully that means we'll have better marks this quarter class. We just finished that class. I see that tongue, Dennis. If I see that again, you're gonna have to stand out in the hall. We'll have to speak later. On that note, it is time for the quiz. As everyone knows, very likely everyone knows at this point in time, I will launch the poll, and you may fill out the poll online. You may do so faster than I read the questions. You may move ahead of me. You may follow along with me and keep it on your paper. Launching poll now. Yes, you can see it. Okay, thank you very much. Excellent, very good.
Poll successfully launched.
Thank you. Number 1. When this actor left Wistful Vista to serve, he took Nick DePopoulos, Horatio K. Boomer, and Wallace Wimple with him. A. Gail Gordon. B. Bill Thompson. C. Arthur Q. Bryan. D. Harlow Wilcox. When this actor left Wistful Vista to serve, he took Nick DePopoulos, Horatio K. Boomer, and Wallace Wimple with him. Who was he? Number 2. Though he often joked about it, this comedian did serve a hitch in the Navy. A. Fred Allen. B. Joe Penner. C. Groucho Marx. D. Jack Benny. Though he often joked about it, this comedian did serve a hitch in the Navy. Number 3. Ozzie and Harriet owed this comedian for more than his service. They inherited his time slot when he was drafted. A. Red Skelton. B. Alan Young. C. Mel Blanc. D. Jack Carson. Ozzie and Harriet owed this comedian for more than his service. They inherited his time slot when he was drafted. Number 4. This Air Force Lieutenant Colonel flew multiple bombing missions over Germany. He was called home to participate in radio's celebration of VE Day. A. John Daner. B. Art Carney. C. Jimmy Stewart. D. Errol Flynn. This Air Force Lieutenant Colonel flew multiple bombing missions over Germany. He was called home to participate in radio's celebration of VE Day. Number 5. This Lone Ranger actor was the oldest American to be part of the American Expeditionary Force of World War I. A. Paul Sutton. B. Brace Beamer. C. John Todd. D. Earl Grasser. This Lone Ranger actor was the oldest American to be part of the American Expeditionary Force of World War I. Number 6. This orchestra leader and sometimes actor playing himself on the Burns and Allen show was drafted and led a military band. A. Jimmy Dorsey. B. Meredith Wilson. C. Lud Gluskin. D. Ben Burney. This orchestra leader and sometimes actor playing himself on the Burns and Allen show was drafted and led a military band. Number 7. This fighter pilot might have had trouble fitting in the cockpit of his plane a few years after the end of World War II. A. J. Scott Smart. B. William Conrad. C. Jackie Gleason. D. Harley Bear. This fighter pilot might have had trouble fitting in the cockpit of his plane a few years after the end of World War II. Number 8. This actor lost a leg during World War I. It didn't prevent him from enjoying a successful radio and movie career. A. Herbert Marshall. B. Lionel Barrymore. C. Edward Arnold. D. Gene Herschel. This actor lost a leg during World War I, but it didn't prevent him from enjoying a successful radio and movie career. Number 9. This radio detective was drafted and served in the Armed Forces Radio Network as a DJ. He also did special introductions on the radio programs sent for overseas broadcast. A. Gerald Moore. B. Jeff Chandler. C. Richard Colmar. D. Howard Duff. This radio detective was drafted and served in the Armed Forces Radio Network as a DJ. He also did special introductions on the radio programs sent for overseas broadcasts. Number 10. When this singer from the Jack Benny program returned home from his service, He and his wife wasted no time filling their house with children. A. Frank Parker. B. Dennis Day. C. Larry Stevens. D. Kenny Baker. When this singer from the Jack Benny program returned home from his service, he and his wife wasted no time filling their house with children. All right. No looking up answers during the program. That would be an automatic 0 in my grade book for you. So don't even try it. But I will leave the poll running in the background. Just gonna try and minimize it. I've tried to do that about 4 times now and it keeps popping back up. So hopefully it's still running, but hopefully it'll stay down. Stay down. And we'll come to the answers following the main program.
Thank you, inimitable quiz mistress. We will now, as we are bending with curiosity, as Lewis Carroll would have said, we can move to our main program, which this is the John Abbott show tonight, guys. We've got John back and he seems to be in good shape. So John, take it away and tell us about Double I, etc.
Okay. Let me get everything squared away here. Come on. There we go. We're going to talk about the Double I, or as I like to call it, Johnny Dollar, before there was a Johnny Dollar. This the Double I was a script which Carl Shadow found in the Copyright Drama Deposit Collection at the Library of Congress. The script was written in 1947 and appears to be an audition for a program starring Edmund O'Brien as a Double I, or an insurance investigator. Little play on the I versus I there. And it was written by Leonard Lee and originally to be produced by Tom McKnight. The first thing I had to figure out was who were Leonard Lee and Tom McKnight. Leonard Lee was born in 1903 in New York City. He was previously married to a Dorothy Khayyam and died in Los Angeles in August of 1964. Primarily, he was known for limited amount of radio work. He was referenced in one episode of the New Adventures of Sherlock Holmes on July 7th, 1947, and as the writer of an escape program, 1951, called The Conquest. Now, in the New Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I listened to the last episode of the series, and the person who was playing Dr. Watson made a rather interesting statement.
Edith Meiser and Leonard Lee, who wrote the dramatizations, and last but not least, our producer and our director, Tom McKnight. Edith.
The interesting thing here was that he did not say the writer of this production or this story, but the writer of the dramatizations. So I'm thinking that maybe he had more to do with the program than just writing that one episode. In looking up his activities, he was quite prolific in the movie environment. He wrote screenplays for a number of movies, none of which are, top tier movies. I'm sure that somebody has heard of The Glass Web or Smuggler's Island. There's a movie here called The Fat Man. I'm sure we may have heard of that one, and various others. On the television side, a number of programs he provided episodes for. 77 Sunset Strip being the one with the most episodes. He did 15 episodes of that particular program. He did 10 episodes of The Silent Service, 3 episodes of Navy Log, and a number of other programs where he just did 1 episode. Tom McKnight was born in 1901, and he was a producer known for 3 movies, The Black Angel, McKeever and the Colonel, and Pony Express. He was previously mentioned to Edith Meiser, and together they ran an agency in Los Angeles, and he died in 1963 in Oxnard, California. He had a number of movies and television productions. McKeever and the Colonel, 77 Sunset Strip, Pony Express, The Life of Riley, and Beulah were his most prolific TV series. And he was also a writer for The Shadow, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the Radio Hall of Fame, and The Beulah Show. Another name that was mentioned was that of Edith Meiser, who at one point was married to Tom McKnight. And really, she deserves her own presentation. She was described as the driving force behind the adoption of Sherlock Holmes stories for the radio. So, what's the double I all about? Well, as I got into it, the double I basically was your typical 1940s detective story. It was the first use of an insurance investigator that I am aware of, and I'm sure that somebody will find 7 or 8 more as soon as I'm finished here. And it was originally written as an audition program for Edmund O'Brien. There were a limited number of characters. There was Buckner, who was the office manager, Jeff Winters, who played the double I, a secretary who had 1 line, Butler, very British, very correct, Mrs. Ormerod, who was a cultured and commanding individual. Think the Marine actress's name just went out, but anyway, she was played the foil to Groucho Marx in a lot of his movies. Priscilla Ormerod, his granddaughter, her granddaughter, Spencer, her nephew, and Bob Ormerod, her son, and the announcer. So once I had the script, I kind of determined that, this thing was absolutely, golden material here for a reproduction. So I had to figure out how to get this into the hands of the people that needed to work on it. One of the things that I had to do was take the original script, which, while readable, was not the kind of script that I would want to just, toss over the transom, so to speak, and expect somebody to be able to read. So what I did was, using the using the facilities of Microsoft Word, I transcribed the script into a Word document, which made it much more readable. And although it's 20-some pages, Microsoft Word does have the facility of speaking into a microphone and transcribing what you speak into a Word document. So it made it relatively easy to create a file which everybody could, read easily. Then I went about selecting cast members. Ultimately, we got all the cast members I needed, although they're very geographically dispersed, being located in Virginia, Washington, D.C., Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. So what I did then was have each cast member on a Zoom session where they read their lines, and I recorded the Zoom, the reading into an audio file. Then I collected those audio files into an Audacity project. And you can see in the picture that hopefully is on your screen, each one of the characters has a track on this project. Frank has his track there at the top. There's music. The butler has a track. Sally has a track. And the nice thing about using Audacity was that I can do things with Audacity that Zoom would not allow me to do. For example, with Zoom, you cannot have two people talking at the same time because Zoom will grab one of them and the other one, may or may not come out. That's not a problem with Audacity. Matter of fact, as we get into it, there are several places where I have 4 people talking at the same time. There are other places where I have sound effects and people talking at the same time. It's very easy to do with Audacity. And once we get into the actual result of this, I think you'll see that it's a really neat tool to use. And let's face it, the price is right. It's free software. So once everything was done, I had music, which I got from a very interesting source. I had sound effects, which I collected from various copyright-free sources, including a squeaky kitchen cabinet hinge, and put them all together. And the result is what follows. Now, it's either a recreation or it's a creation, maybe it's a premiere, but no matter how you look at it, it's the double I.
The Double I, starring Michael Haid. These initials, double I, stand for Insurance Investigator, to those in the know. Tonight, file number 136B749, name of insured, Tommy Ormerod.
He can't just have disappeared. He'd never run away from home. Tommy must be hurt or dead.
The other servants and I have searched everywhere for him, madam.
I know Tommy. If he were still alive, he'd never do this to me. Prentice?
Yes, madam?
Call Mr. Buckner at the Universal Insurance Company on the telephone. He'll get to the bottom of this.
And now, the main office of the Universal Insurance Company, Los Angeles, California.
Yes?
Jeff Winters is here, Mr. Buckner. You said you wanted to see him as soon as...
About time. Send him in.
Morning, Buck. Why don't you throw away that dictograph? You yell loud enough to be heard clear through the door.
If you'd get down here a little faster, I wouldn't have anything to yell about. And don't call me Buck.
Oh, you'd find something, Buck.
It's 3 hours since my secretary called you. Where have you been? No, don't tell me. I've got no time to listen to excuses. You should have been on this job 2 hours ago.
I'll never get out if you don't quit gassing and tell me what it is.
I've got a nice assignment for you this time, Jeff. The kind you've been asking for. No jewel thieves, no phony accident claims.
No having to work as a stevedore on those San Pedro docks again?
Nothing like that, my boy. Just the opposite. Lovely people, delightful surroundings. A chance to mingle with the upper crust.
There's a catch in this someplace.
Oh, no catch at all. You know where Bel Air is.
I've driven by it enough times, but I don't mingle with the upper tax brackets.
You're going to. Mrs. Henrietta Ormerod wants my smartest insurance investigator. And what Mrs. Ormerod wants, she gets. Just look at those cards. Liability, life, jewelry, accident. The old dame puts out better than $50,000 a year in premium. So I told her that our Mr. Jeffrey Winters was at her service.
What's bothering her?
Here's the card. File number 136B749. Name of insured Tommy Ormerod. He's disappeared.
Let's look at it.
I'm practically handing you a vacation. The Ormerods are the kind of people with 2 swimming pools, one for the servants. You sure are a lucky.
Hey, this Tommy Ormerod. It's not a him, it's a cat.
So it's a cat.
Do you think I'm going out chasing some mangy alley cat just because?
What Mrs. Ormerod wants, she gets, while I'm the home office manager for Universal Insurance. And as long as you're the double I for this outfit, you'll go where I send you.
Sometimes I wish I had taken up bricklaying. Why don't you give the old bagger $100? Let her buy another mouser.
She doesn't want another cat. She wants her Tommy. And now get going. And don't stick your face in this door again until you find him.
All right, I'm on my way. Jeff Winters, the demon cat chaser, rides again.
Yes, sir.
I'm Mr. Winters, Universal Insurance.
Ah, yes. Mrs. Ormerod is expecting you. If you'll just follow me, sir.
Nice little place you've got here.
To the right, sir. Mrs. Ormerod is in her bedroom. She has been very much upset over Tommy's disappearance.
Yes?
Prentice, madam, with Mr. Winters from the insurance.
Show him in.
Good morning, Mrs. Ormerod.
You're Jeffrey Winters, investigator for Universal Insurance. And Mr. Buckner is quite certain you can solve the mystery of Tommy's disappearance.
If you'll just give me the facts concerning Tommy's
There are no facts. Tommy was well and happy in his usual cheerful self last night. I was playing bridge downstairs with my nephew, Spencer Ormerod, his son Robert, and my granddaughter Priscilla till about midnight. When I came up to my bedroom to retire, Tommy was not in his usual place at the foot of my bed. He is a cat of the most regular habits. And all of his 7 years, this is the first time that has ever happened.
Well, cats do stray sometimes. And since I assume Tommy is a boy, well...
Tommy, Mr. Winters, is not that kind of cat.
Oh.
I feel much better now that the matter is in your competent hands. Now, please conduct your investigation in any way you see fit. You may question whomever you wish.
You'll never make a good swan dive if you bend your knees.
Who are you?
I'm Jeff Winters.
So you're the private eye?
Your reading of cheap fiction has evidently misled you. A private eye is a private detective. I'm an insurance investigator, and if you must be technical, refer to me as a double eye. You, I gather, must be Priscilla Ormerod.
Amazing. And just what are you investigating around the swimming pool? Cats don't swim, you know.
Oh, I'm just wandering around.
Found any clues?
Not a thing. I questioned all the servants, and I'd lay 6-2 and even. They're all on the level. So my hunch that Tommy might have been stolen by someone working with one of them looks bad. I figured someone might be going to hold up your grandmother for a big reward.
Sort of a catnapping, eh?
Sort of.
What's your next step?
Question the family.
Go ahead. Start with me.
Glad to. Ever since you came up from that dive, there's one question I've wanted to ask.
What's that?
What holds that bathing suit up?
Me.
You sure do a nice job of it.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome, Priscilla. What's that?
Automatic garden sprinkler system. It works on a time clock or something.
Then what do you need 3 gardeners for?
Oh, Grandma raises prize flowers. Those beds over there are full of them. Any more questions?
Yes. Do you know anything about Tommy's disappearance?
Not a thing.
Okay.
Is that all? You don't beat me with a rubber hose or anything?
That's all. I just go around asking everyone questions, and sooner or later I stub my toe on something. Then, if I'm lucky, I figure out the answer.
It doesn't sound very exciting.
Who wants excitement?
What do you do it for then?
Simplest reason in the world, beautiful. I like money. Not only the money they pay me, but Universal stockholders' money. My job is to save them handing it out on phony claims and fake robberies and all the other gimmicks smart people think they can get away with.
That sounds good, but I bet you get plenty of excitement and thrills, whether you want them or not.
Sometimes, but I never want them. And I usually manage to avoid, that was a shot.
Don't get all professionally worked up. It's just my cousin Bob banging away on his rifle range.
Mind walking over there and introducing me?
You'll be wasting your time. The only thing Bobby or his father know anything about is spending Grandma's money. Come on, it's shorter if we cut across the lawn this way.
His father would be Mr. Spencer Ormerod, the old lady's nephew, right?
Yes.
I wanted to talk to him, but the butler said he wasn't around.
Spencer went into town early this morning. About once a week, he makes a bluff at running the Ormerod Investment Company for Grandma.
I wish. Wait a second.
What's the matter?
There, in the corner of the flower bed.
Some of Grandma's prized dahlias.
Not the flowers, the ground around them, where the earth is all wet from the sprinklers.
What do you expect it to be? Dry?
No, but when I see a soaking wet flower bed with air bubbles coming out of the earth in one corner of it, I want to know who's dug a hole lately in that one spot and why.
Oh, do you want me to get you a shovel or something?
No, the earth is pretty loose. See, I can scoop it out with my hands. And one get you 10 that from the size of this hole, it's Tommy's body that...
Ouch!
Sorry if I hurt your wrist, but that bee you just heard humming by was a bullet. That's why I yanked you down. It hit that tree right back there. I heard it. Give that cousin of yours a yell. Tell him the war's over.
Bob! Oh, Bobby! Stop shooting!
All right. What's the matter?
Come on. I want to talk to your cousin.
Hi, Pris. What were you...
Why were you shooting at us?
What are you raving about?
Where's your target?
Down there, against the bunker. Say, who do you think you are asking questions around here?
You wanted to meet Uncle Spencer, Jeff. Here he is. Be sure to rave over the hand-painted necktie. He spends $150 apiece for them.
Hello, kids. Behaving yourselves?
Of course, maybe the blonde who paints them has got something to do with the price.
Glad you're here, Dad. This friend of Pris's just came raving up here with some wild yarn about my shooting at him.
He's not a friend of mine. Well, maybe he is, at that.
Thanks.
Jeff, this is my uncle, Mr. Spencer Ormerod, and his son, Bob. This is Mr. Winters of Universal. Grandma had him come out to find Tommy.
In the course of which, Mr. Ormerod, a bullet just missed us.
I'm sure it couldn't have been Bob. He's a very careful marksman.
Maybe not, but I don't see anybody else around here indulging in target practice. All right, let's forget it. I want to get back to that flower bed.
Any particular reason?
He thinks Tommy's buried there.
Mind if we come with you?
Not at all. I'd prefer not to have anybody standing behind me.
And what makes this wild man think Tommy's in the flower bed, Pris?
He saw air bubbles coming up out of the ground where it was wet. He said that showed that it had been dug up recently.
So this is the scene of the crime, eh?
I think so. Ah.
Oh, the poor thing. Is Tommy all right?
Why on earth should anyone have buried the cat out here?
That's one of the things I'm curious about. Priscilla, would you mind going up and breaking the bad news to your grandmother?
Why, if you want me to, Jeff. Where are you going?
I'm taking Tommy's body into town with me. I want to find out what killed him.
And now, back to Michael Haid as the Double I and his investigation into the strange death of Mrs. Ormerod's cat.
Hello, Buck.
Yes, and don't call me Buck.
Keep your shirt on, Buck. I called you at the office, but you'd left. Keeping banker's hours, eh?
Bankers? What time is it anyhow? And where are you?
Just about midnight, and I'm out at Mrs. Ormerod's, remember?
Yeah, well?
I found the cat.
Is that what you woke me up for?
The laboratory just called me the findings on what killed him. Carbon monoxide poisoning, probably from an automobile exhaust.
And you have to call me at midnight for that? Tell Mrs. Ormerod to make out a claim and we'll pay it.
Would you be interested to know that someone took a shot at me?
Did they hit you in a vital spot?
No.
That's too bad. Now get off the phone and let me sleep.
So long. They call her frivolous sound.
Your chick partner.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was your last trump, grandmother. Both my diamonds are high.
So the last two are ours. You're down for, Grandma.
I'm not surprised, the way you bid me up, Spencer. Just because I opened with an indicative spade, there was no reason for you to carry me up to 4.
I guess I did overbid. Evidently, I figured the distribution wrong.
Well, Mr. Winters, did you make your telephone calls?
Yes, Mrs. Ormerod, and I got the laboratory's report on Tommy.
Well?
Carbon monoxide poisoning.
How on earth?
Undoubtedly an automobile exhaust, Mrs. Ormerod. The cat must have wandered into the garage. Someone had left an engine running. Just a regrettable accident, I'm afraid.
I see. I shall speak to the chauffeurs tomorrow morning. They should have reported the accident to me instead of hiding Tommy's body.
Well, that cleans up my work out here, Mrs. Ormerod. I'll be getting back to town.
Thank you very much, Mr. Winters, for setting my mind at rest. At least this is better than not knowing. And I shall tell Mr. Buckner how quickly you solved the problem.
Thank you, Mrs. Ormerod.
If you all don't mind, let us finish our game tomorrow night. Just put the score away, Robert. I am rather upset about Tommy. I shall take my sleeping pills and go straight to bed. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Will you go with me to the garage, Priscilla? I'm not sure I can find my way to my car.
Some detective, but I don't mind.
Well, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Come on, Jeff. We'll go by way of the terrace.
Listen, Priscilla, I haven't got time to explain now. You'll have to take it on faith, but this stuff about going back to town is just a bluff. I want you to wait until everybody is in their rooms and sneak me back into the house.
What are you?
It's too long to explain, and if you're not back within a minute, the killer might get suspicious.
The killer? But you said the cat.
Cat was only part of an attempt to kill your grandmother, an attempt that went wrong. And while he thinks I'm out of the way, he may try again tonight. And I've got to be in your grandmother's room when he does. Will you trust me?
All right.
Good girl.
Oh.
How does it feel to be kissed by an insurance investigator?
I'd rate it about halfway between the first chauffeur and a South American rubber dancer.
Thanks so much. Get back to the house now. As soon as everything's quiet, come down here and open one of the French windows onto the terrace.
Right. Just one question. How do you know I'm not the killer? Can you tell by instinct?
Instinct, my foot. You're the one person who couldn't have shot at me this afternoon.
Jeff.
Right here. Been here for an hour.
Come on.
Better take my hand. Let me steer you through the furniture.
Okay, so long as it's business, not pleasure.
Careful. Here are the stairs.
Here's Grandma's room.
Her light's out. I'm going in. There's no chance of her hearing me after taking a sedative.
Can I?
Get back to your own room and stay there. And thanks. Get away from that bed.
Who the?
Don't make any sudden moves. I'd just as soon shoot you as not.
Who is there? Oh, what's the matter? What is it?
It's all right, Mrs. Ormerod. Just a second till I switch on the lights. There, that's better.
Spencer, what is it? And Mr. Winters, what are you doing here?
All right, Spencer, you can put your hands down now. Thought maybe you were packing that 32 you were so handy with this afternoon.
What is the meaning of this? I demand an explanation.
I heard a noise in your room, Henrietta, and I hurried in to see what was the matter. I found this fellow here. Heaven only knows what he may have been after. Your jewelry, probably. You can see he's armed.
Good try, Spencer. Maybe you could have done better if you'd known that Priscilla brought me up here a couple of hours ago.
I don't believe.
Do you see that pillow your precious nephew dropped on the floor, Mrs. Ormerod?
Why, yes.
That pillow was to go over your face. You wouldn't have awakened easily after a sedative. If you had, he'd only had to press it down a little more tightly. When they found your body in the morning, there wouldn't be any marks to show you hadn't died a natural death.
This is the most absurd.
Your cat didn't die by accident, Mrs. Ormerod. He died when Spencer tested his ingenious arrangement for piping automobile exhaust through the air conditioning system of your room. It was just an accident that Tommy paid the price for sleeping on your bed at the time.
Have you any answer to this, Spencer?
Try to answer this, too. A bullet was fired at me this afternoon, just as a warning. Tonight, I dug it out of the tree it hit. It was a 32, and Bob was shooting a 22. A moment later, Spencer drove up, and when I searched his car, I found a 32 pistol in the glove compartment. And just to clinch things, I announced very audibly that I was going to phone Buckner to give the killer a chance to listen in. He did, and he swallowed the bait about my going back to town. You wondered why your nephew overbid that bridge hand so heavily, Mrs. Ormerod? He had to be dummy that hand so he could listen in on my call.
I see. I do indeed. I'm very much indebted to you, Mr. Winters.
Do you want him turned over to the police, Mrs. Ormerod? My job's really finished now, you know.
There has never been a scandal in our family, Mr. Winters, nor will there be one now. It will be a novel experience for you, Spencer, to earn your own living for the first time in your life. You and Robert will leave my house at once. You will see to it, Mr. Winters?
It'll be a pleasure, Mrs. Ormerod. On your way, bud. Hi, Buck. What's on your mind this fine morning?
If you'd get down here before noon, you might know what's going on. Mrs. Ormerod's had me on the phone all morning. There's a whole new set of beneficiaries on her life insurance policies. And here, she sent me this check down for you.
Wow, just for finding a cat and saving her life.
Well, don't stand around patting yourself on the back. I want you on the 1 o'clock plane to Las Vegas.
You mean I don't get a chance to spend even part of this?
Where could you find a better place to blow it in than Las Vegas? After you get the dope on file K28-694, name of insured, the Golden Wheel Club.
Look, Buck, before I go, I think I'd like to take out a little insurance.
Not with this company, you won't.
Why not?
You're always getting shot at. You're not a good risk.
Be with us again next week at this time, same station, to hear the Double I's next case, file K28-694, the Golden Wheel Club at Las Vegas. The Double I's stars
Michael J. Haid.
Was originally produced by Tom McKnight and written by Leonard Lee. In this performance, Buckner was played by
Edgar Farr Russell III.
Mrs. Ormerod was played by
Sally Stevens.
The butler and Bob were played by
Wes Lehman.
The secretary and Priscilla were played by
Donna Ring.
Spencer was played by
Brian Hochberg.
And the announcer was Frank Morgan. This recreation has been brought to you by the Metropolitan Washington Old Time Radio Club.
Okay, that is the end.
Bravo.
So I'm going to stop sharing to get the virtual tomatoes thrown in my direction.
Not at all. That was fun, John. Thank you for including me.
Excellent work. Excellent work, all of you. I mean, really great.
Tie check. That was so well done by everybody. It was just great.
Yeah, really great. And it's really kind of promising with this Audacity program. So,
John, here's my tie of approval for your work.
I can rest easy now.
I just wanted to say I'm so glad I got to play the villain for a change.
Great stuff.
Good stuff, Brian.
Yes, it did. All of you. I mean, it's really mind-blowing. So John, tell us a little bit more about how the process you went through recording all of the different parts, because you used this Audacity program.
Well, what I did is for each one of the parts, I set up a Zoom meeting, and the individuals like Frank would read his particular lines, and I was recording that. So at the end of the recording, I had an audio file, and I got all these audio files for each one of the parts. Then with Audacity, you can create a project. And so I just, it's like, remember the old 8-track tapes? Well, I had 8 or 9 different tracks in this project. Each voice had a separate track, and I would cut and paste the various different audio parts into their track. And the nice thing about Audacity is that I can put something in, and if I want to move it around, I just move it around. It's very easy to move stuff around. If I want somebody to cut somebody off, I just butt them right up against other on a different track. It's really, and I violated my basic instinct to use the sledgehammer approach, and use some sophistication and some tools that really helped me do what I think is a reasonable job.
Well, I'd say it's an outstanding job.
No.
Other
One thing that I wonder, does anybody know where the music came from?
No.
No, it fit really well, though.
Yeah.
That was the 1949 Dick Powell audition for Johnny Dollar. I had to get Johnny Dollar in there somehow.
Good on you.
That is great. It sounds like a tremendous amount of work, but boy, the results really paid off.
Well, it took a long time, only because I could only work on it so long before I just said, I can do better. And I started tweaking stuff, and sometimes I just had to do stuff and just let it lie for a day or so and come back to it. And it took me a couple of months to do it, but in reality, I probably could have done it in 3 or 4 days. So we will have an opportunity again in the first of the year to do that, because I have a script for a Candy Matson program. Remember, Jack, Frank, my mind just totally went blank. But Jack French, that's right. He found a previously unknown Candy Matson program in an archive someplace in the frozen north of Wisconsin. And he talked them into streaming it, and a couple of our members got a copy of it. And it's a really interesting program, except for one thing. It's part one of a two-part program. So I was able to go to the University of California, Santa Barbara, where the Thousand Oaks files had been transferred. They found the script for part two, and we will be doing the same thing so that we will have a Candy Matson extravaganza. We'll play part one, and then we'll do a recreation of part two. So be sure to tune in our January program, and we'll see if we can get the ball rolling.
Hey, John.
Yes.
This is Phil. And yes, I have to say you did a good job.
Thank you.
Now that you had practice on that, you could try to duplicate something that my son out in Seattle worked for a company, and they have an orchestra, Amazon Symphony Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, they had everybody play at home, their part at home, and then they synced all the musical parts from all the different instruments.
That's exactly what I did. And I remember you mentioned this way back when.
Yeah, way back when we had some of our first meetings. And by the way, whoever mentioned they had fun playing the villain, having played a lot of villains in our recreations, I could say, yes, they are the most fun parts.
And I remember that, and that's what spurred me to do this. And everybody did a great job on it. I learned a lot of things that next time will help. And who knows? We'll have to. I think next time we're going to have to.
I'd like to
out some of the things.
I'd like to mention a similar project that was done by Chuck Langdon many years ago. The script was called Program Completed, and he taped three readers who were not in the same studio. They were in their own recording place, and he added the sound effects. So that's a similar project where he took three voice tracks and put his own sound effects on it. It was I don't remember who wrote it, but it was a wonderful science fiction story about one character was a computer, and the other character was an astronaut whose capsule had lost power, and then there was someone on the ground, and it starred Ralph Godwin, Michael Henry, and a lady who was a member of the club all those years ago. I don't know if Joni remembers her name.
I don't remember her name, and
anyway,
that recording is available still on radiovisions.net. It's still.
Pardon?
That program completed among some of the, as well as some of the Westerns are still on radiovisions.net. If you call up
it's on
radiovisions.net.
on Radio Visions anyway. Yeah. I have it on cassette, and it's a wonderful, beautiful little cassette which I keep in my briefcase.
I think
Right.
the astronaut was actually on a space station, and a supply ship crashed because one of the sound effects was you had the steady hum of the radar antenna going around, and then it got hit. So there was a clunk, and I did the sound effects for that, and I also did the beeping of the computer with a little electronic keyboard I had. So yeah, that was many years ago.
I'm sorry, Phil. The whole concept of using
wonderful, Bill.
multiple sources, it's not new. That's the way they did programs back in the 50s after they perfected the use of recording tape. They'd have the orchestra on one tape, actors on another tape, the commercials on another tape, and the guys in the back room would homogenize all of this stuff and put it out on the network. So, we're just going back, going full circle now.
Yeah, and the same holds true as you said. Yeah, and definitely in the 50s, the very last of the Dragnet original radio episodes were done where Jack Webb and Ben Alexander would come in on a Sunday, just record their lines for like 2, possibly 3 shows, and then during the week somebody else would bring in the other actors and they would do their parts. So yeah, it's nothing new.
Yeah,
but
it would
they
all get
didn't
assembled
have the
in the editing room.
sophisticated software. They didn't have the software we have nowadays.
Yeah, Audacity is wonderful. For a free program, it does a whole lot. I was using it earlier today for something.
It's good to know. It's great stuff. Would that we could use Audacity to hybridize our in-person meetings, but I don't think that's going to. But does anyone have any other questions or observations for John? It's just, I'm just
I
in awe.
I hope that this whole John Abbott project gets written up for and sent to Sally Stevens for the
see this, Mark,
for the new radio recall. Oh, look,
it's all written up, and I'm be sending it to Sally in a day or so. It's probably going to be 2 issues of Radio Recall because I don't want to hog the whole issue. But
I even told John when he told me that his project was going on that as luck would have it, don't send it to GRTR, send it to Sally and RR. So that's going well in that respect.
Yep, it's in the pipeline.
Well, it's exciting to see things moving forward and people being so wonderfully engaged in doing stuff with the club, and to really see some new life breathed into the club between John Abbott's performance, Sally Stevens, and then we did the Mank presentation, which came off pretty well, all things considered, with all the challenges. So it is kind of exciting to see that there's a life after the pandemic. So thank you all very, very much. Does anyone have any final thoughts about for our observations for John?
I thought it was great, and I really liked the how it was all edited together. I was just curious in future recreations if they could be like a video, where there's like a FOTR video or most spurred back videos and things of that nature.
Well, if considering everybody's in different places, everybody has a different environment which they've set their computer up in. It probably could be done, but I don't know. And this is just speaking out of ignorance here. I don't know whether it would add anything or not. But those who know me, knowing what I'm talking about has never stopped me from talking.
Well, I
and you can't edit video in Audacity.
Audacity.
You would have to have a paid for video software program for that.
Right.
It's not impossible, but it would cost money.
Well, we have that, but
it only got so many hairs left. I'd be pulling them out left and right.
The video component of it. I mean, I was in a professional production that was produced over Zoom, and then we had a really crackerjack editor for it. But it was really complicated trying to get that uniformity of quality, of video quality, because everybody on Zoom has sort of a different level of resolution and quality for performing. So that kind of thing can go bad and sideways really fast.
Yeah,
I mean, I've
There was
seen
one
some
instance where I had recorded Donna Ring's parts, and I just wanted her to go over a couple of lines that didn't really come over that well. So I set up a different Zoom session with her, and she was sitting closer to the computer and it sounded totally different. So I had to go into Audacity and play with stuff to try and make it sound, the same. So yeah, get it the first time.
Hi,
this
if
is
anybody
Donna. Can
has
you
a
hear me?
Mac, if
Hi,
anybody has a
Donna.
Hi, I just want to say you got to keep it radio. If you do video, it's not radio anymore. Hey, it was a lot of fun. I would never want to do video.
Donna, you read my mind. That's exactly what
They don't
that's
need
what
to know
we're
we're a
about
bunch of old
radio,
farts. They don't
our
need to know
club.
that.
It's not old time television.
if you do want to do it though.
Plus, if you've got all that bandwidth you're taking, it's going to cause problems for some people
Yeah,
along the way.
that's another issue with Zoom.
That's the biggest obstacle to doing it video, unless you have a recording studio and everybody in the studio at the same time. And that's obviously not feasible when you've got people sprinkled across the countryside.
Frank, I think iMovie and the Mac would do video if you really, really, really wanted to. You could play with a short little 10 or 15-minute program and see how that worked.
Well, Jeff, if you want to volunteer to put together something like that, that sounds great. I think we'll all support you wholeheartedly in that endeavor.
I don't have a Mac anymore, but I know Frank brings his to the club. So, but iMovie, I think, might work in that particular case.
Well, iMovie has its issues because I use iMovie to take the video that from our Zoom sessions and encapsulate that with some other stuff, and it's got a lot of stuff, but it's got a lot of overhead in it too. So I've been playing around with like 4 different video editors, and it's like different universes for each one to accomplish the same thing.
Yes, technically it's very challenging. All right, well, I think we need to get on to, as delightful as this is, and we're all gushing and oohing and ahhing over John, which is really nice since he's recovering from back surgery. We want to encourage him. So thank you, John. And I'm sure many of you are dying to know how many questions you got right in the quiz. Is our intrepid quiz mistress still around, or is she gone out to get a drink or something? Sally?
Please, Wendy, any self-respecting teacher would have a drink right here on hand already.
There you go. Perfect.
These night classes, let me tell you, they're the worst. Kids, nonsense. They just don't stop. All right.
Where did the quiz go, by the way? I
Poll
thought it was
is
the poll.
still running.
Okay. Linnell,
So you
I know I
just go
got
to
one
where
right.
it says polls and you tap on polls and it'll come up.
I'm sorry, you go to where, what is?
Polls, where you have the drop down list that gives you chat, it gives you polls, and it gives
Well, I hit that and I get show chat previews. I don't see anything about polls.
It
Interesting.
might be under your more.
Is there a place for the poll on the phone? I don't see it.
He's not well, the phone doesn't get quite as many capabilities as others. Sally, maybe you just want to launch
regardless, I'm going to be ending the poll. So too little, too late. Sorry, kids. We're ending the poll. So those of you that took your answers down,
on paper, bring your paper out. And
I didn't get to hit submit.
I don't think I did either.
every day. Every day.
Where's that button you push again?
Oh my goodness. It's like I'm back at school. Sit. I quit. I quit. I quit. I quit.
I find the button under more where the 3 white dots, and it often says more. And if you hit that, you get a drop down, you get a list of possibilities: security, recording, polls, chat. Well, I get more than that, but I think it's time to move forward because we do have a lot to accomplish tonight.
There it is.
I'm sharing
bravo.
the results. Can you see them?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
I don't see them. I usually get a poll, but I don't see any results.
Well, it just popped up on mine,
It just popped up.
but I'm on a laptop.
I'm on an iPad and it just came in. You might have to go to this section where there's chat and all of that and hit poll.
Oh well.
Teacher's losing it over there in the corner, guys. She's ready to give everybody a big fat F. Can we move forward, please?
Are you ready, class?
I'm wondering what kind of drink teacher has aside for now.
Are you ready? Are we ready, class? Please, can we be ready? Okay, so looking at our answers, this quiz, while it appears to be easy, I think it is actually quite challenging because looking at our answers here on the poll, for those who were able to locate and submit, are all over the place. So let's see what we've got. So for number 1, when this actor left Wistful Vista to serve, he took Nick, Horatio, and Wallace with him. Not sure why. Don't know what they were doing. Were they starting a boy band or what? But was that Gail Gordon, Bill Thompson, Arthur Q. Bryant, or Harlow Wilcox? The correct answer is
Third on the votes.
What?
correct answer is B.
Bill Thompson.
Bill Thompson. Bill Thompson. Number 2. Though he often joked about it, this comedian did serve a hitch in the Navy. We were getting all over the place here. Was it Fred Allen, Joe Penner, Groucho Marx, or Jack Benny? Showing my age, all I could think of was Fred Penner. No? The children's singer from the 1980s? Yep. Well, that's what you get for having a young quiz mistress. But the correct answer is D. Jack Benny. Jack Benny was in the Navy now. Well, then. Wasn't it? Anyway, it's been a long day. Number 3. Ozzie and Harriet owed this comedian for more than his service. They inherited his time slot when he was drafted. Was it Red Skelton, Alan Young? Nobody said it was Mel Blanc. Or was it Jack Carson? The correct answer is nice job to the 2 of you that got it. A. Red Skelton. A. Red Skelton. Number 4. This Air Force Lieutenant Colonel flew multiple bombing missions over Germany, and he was called home in order to participate in radio's celebration of VE Day. I love it when we all study. Look what happens. We all get the answer right. Good job, class. The correct answer is C. Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart. Number 5. This Lone Ranger actor was the oldest American to be part of the American Expeditionary Force of World War I. We were spread all over the place here. We weren't sure, but majority went for D, Earl Grasser, which was wrong. One person got it correct on the poll, and the correct answer is C, John Todd. John Todd. Good job, Mark. Number 6.
Thanks.
This orchestra leader and sometimes actor playing himself on the Burns and Allen show was drafted and led a military band, and later then wrote about his days growing up in Iowa, which became one of my personal favorite musicals, The Music Man. If that hasn't given you the bonus points yet, the correct answer is B, Meredith Willson. Meredith Willson, B.
Point here. Meredith Wilson's misspelled. He once complained about the fact that no one ever pronounced his last name right. It's Wilson, not Wilson. There's 2 L's.
Thank you, but you didn't pick up on the misspelling of Allen.
Ah, there we go. Okay. We've got problems everywhere.
I thought I had fixed that. I apologize because I know I fixed it on one copy, but apparently I didn't fix it on the poll. You can't get good help anymore.
It's okay.
Speak to the printer about it later. What musical is that from? Number 7. This fighter pilot might have had a little bit of trouble fitting into the cockpit of his plane a few years after the end of World War II. Most people went with B, William Conrad. One said J. Scott Smart. But the majority wins. It's B, William Conrad. I'm going to need some context for J. Scott Smart.
He played the fat man.
That was clever, Frank. That was clever. Now I get it. Didn't help when I didn't know. Okay. All right. Number 8. This actor lost a leg during World War I. It didn't prevent him from enjoying a successful radio and movie career. We were all over the place. Apparently, we didn't know. We did not study World War I very well. Most people don't. But the correct answer is, let's see how many in the poll got it correct. 2. Which narrows it down. The correct answer is C, Edward Arnold. C, Edward Arnold. Who else thought it was Lionel Barrymore because he was in the wheelchair in It's a Wonderful Life?
I thought it was Herbert Marshall because he had an artificial leg.
Well, Frank is just a little tricky. Frank is just tricksy.
I
He's
think he
trying to
makes
make
stuff
sure
up.
you're actually studying. That's why you get the notes ahead of time, sir. Number 9. This radio detective was drafted and served in the Armed Forces Radio Network as a DJ, and he also did special introductions on the radio programs sent for overseas broadcasts. Again, we were a little bit all over the place. Oh, but I was right. How exciting when Teach gets one right too, which is kind of a small miracle on some of these quizzes sometimes. So the correct answer is D, Howard Duff. Yeah. Howard Duff, D is correct. Last one. Oh, I'm so glad we studied so that we could all at least get 2 correct. Nice job, class. Well, it doesn't help our grading curve very good. Gonna have to really throw in some bonus questions here. But nice job for number 10. When this singer from the Jack Benny program returned home from his service, he and his wife had wasted no time filling their house with children. Who was it? None other than Dennis Day. Bonus points if you can tell me how many children he had. before you look it up.
10?
Wasn't it 8?
I
thought
don't
it
know.
was 8.
I'm just asking. You thought I knew the answer to that one. I was just asking for bonus points. So sure, any number that you told me, I would have accepted.
It's lucky you're not in the law asking a question for which you do not know the answer. Thank you, Sally. That was a delightful quiz. Thank you, Frank, as always.
Great quiz, Frank. Thank you.
Nothing was too obvious or straightforward. Though fortunately, there were 2 questions that everybody got right. So this is progress. Thank you. Thank you. That is wonderful. Next month, we will have our own Sandra Pitts Malone, who has put together the holiday quiz. So that's something to look forward to. So without further ado, I think we will adjourn the public part of our meeting and go to our unrecorded part. But let me first stop our recording and thank you to everyone who tuned in to watch this. So let's see. Stop.